New sales for my business were down 36%. Things were not looking good, and we were probably just a few months away from being in some serious trouble. I needed a solution. So I decided to try Alex Hormozi's closer framework. If you don't know who Alex Hormozi is, he's the jack guy that you see all over YouTube wearing lumberjack shirts and the shortest denim cutoff shorts I've ever seen. But he seems to know what he's talking about when it comes to sales, when it comes to business. He runs a portfolio of companies that he says do around about $100 million in revenue. So he runs a 30-minute training program, and I decided to watch that video, implement it. And in this video, I'm gonna break that down for you. So I'll summarize the key points. You don't have to sit through 30 minutes. And I'll also show you the impact that it had on my sales. Spoiler alert, it was a huge improvement. So Alex calls this the closer framework. And what that means is the C stands for clarity, so why they got in touch with you in the first place. Label, so make sure to label their problem and say it back to them so that they can see you understand the problem they're having. Overview, so what have they tried in the past to fix their problem? Sell. This is a really key point, which of course I will go into in more depth, and I'll go into all of these points in more depth. But when he says sell, he says sell them the vacation and not the plane ride. Explain. So you're going to have to explain. They're going to have some concerns. So you need to explain those away. And finally, you need to reinforce their decision so that they know they are making the right decision. Make sure to give this video a like if you're enjoying it, and subscribe. I'm going to keep pumping out amazing content for you, and that is all I ask in return. So as we said in the closer framework, the very first point is clarity. We need to figure out why they got in touch with us. A couple of the questions that you could ask is, what made you get in touch? What made you reach out? What is your goal, and what is really important to you, so that you can understand why they've got in touch with you in the first place. That's going to help you determine as well if they are a good fit for what you offer. You might ask some of those questions and then find out, oh, this person isn't a good fit for our solution, which is going to save you time, save them time. And if they are a good fit, of course, well, then you've asked the important questions to clarify how best you can help them. So number two is that you want to label their problem. And this starts by saying, you've said blank, is that correct? So what you're asking is, you said this is your problem. Have I got that right? And really make sure that you have understood the issue they're having. That's going to make it 10 times easier if you just sell them the problem, the solution that you have. Next up is then to say, okay, so what have you tried before? Because inevitably, you're probably not the first person they've contacted to try and get someone to solve their problem. And by asking them, what have you tried before? They are going to, I'm sure, give you examples of things that didn't work. And that's an opportunity for you to differentiate. For example, with the publishing business I own, there are many other publishing companies out there, and often clients have had a really bad experience. So when they come to us and we say, okay, well, what have you tried in the past? They'll say, oh, I tried this freelancer and they let me down and I never heard from them again. I tried this other company and they didn't deliver what they promised, or what they promised was rubbish, and that's why I'm here, because I need to have it done properly. So then you're going to understand, okay, here are the things they've tried, and now I can explain how we are so much better than the things you've already tried. Now, this is the fun part. This is where you get to the selling. This is where you are going to explain to them how amazing your service is, why they should buy it. And remember, the key point with this is to sell them the vacation and not the plane ride, right? So you want to sell them the Maldives. You know, imagine being in the Maldives, how warm it's going to be, how clear the ocean will be, the golden sand, you know, the amazing fresh fish that you'll be eating. Sell them that. Don't sell them the fact that they're going to have to take 3 plane rides to get there. You know, and that's the difference here, is you want to sell them that end result, which is really what they're looking for. The final step is you're going to explain away their concerns. So inevitably, people are going to have some concerns. And often one of the biggest concerns that customers have is price. So they say, I'm not really sure I can afford it, or I think it might be a bit too expensive. And really what they're saying to you is you haven't explain the value to me. I don't see that there's enough value here. And using an example that Alex uses is he says, imagine that someone was giving away Ferraris for only £5,000. Let's imagine they called you up and they said, hi, I've got the latest Ferrari. It retails at $500,000. I'm giving it to you today for $5,000. Can you pay today? People will find that money. You would find that money because what you are getting is so valuable for that money. And really this illustrates the point that most people can afford what you're selling. It's just that they don't have the money. It's because they haven't understood how good it is and what the value is. Now, Alex talks about one of the most common objections you will get if you are selling something. And that is the, okay, that's great. I need to go talk to my husband, to my wife about this, and then I'll get back to you. And he has some really clever ways to get around this objection. So I'm going to show you these here. So number one is ask them, what would you do if they said no? And 9 times out of 10, people say, oh, well, I'd probably still do it anyway. And of course, you can then say, well, let's just start now. The next one is, what do you think their biggest objection would be? So what do you think your husband or wife, what would they object to? And they'll give you an answer, and you know, no surprises, the answer they give you is actually going to be their biggest objection. So then you can again re-explain the value and explain away their concerns. And then for the final example, let's imagine that you were selling a fitness service and they said, okay, I've got to go and speak to my husband, to my wife. And that would be the point to ask them and say, so do you think your spouse, would they not want you to be happier, healthier, in much better shape? And of course, they're going to say, well, yes, they would. So that's another way of getting around that objection. Final thing I would say on this is that often it's just better to ask forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. Now, once you've made the sale, it's not all over yet. Most people will decide if they're happy with the purchase they made within the first 48 hours after they made that purchase. So this is the key point where you need to be in touch with the customer. They need to see that things are happening. A lot of companies, what they'll do is they send out swag. So they'll send out a letter, a bag, a free pen, whatever it may be, a free notebook. They'll send you something for free. And that's just basically because if they can reinforce that purchasing decision was the right thing to do within those first couple of days, then you're more likely to stay with the service, or if there's a product, not ask for a refund. Another bonus, and I have implemented this and I found this to be one of the best things to boost sales, is every time you get a great review, is share that with your sales team and constantly share good reviews that you've had, reviews from the past. We get a lot where people say, you have made my dream of being a published author come true. And I remind the team of this constantly that, look, we're not just selling someone a publishing package, we're actually selling them a dream come true. When they see that book on the shelf of their local bookstore, or they get that first delivery of books, it's an incredible feeling for them. And this is what our package offers. Finally, you need competition. So you need clear goals for people to hit. You need clear rewards. And if you have multiple salespeople, you want them to compete with each other. Salespeople generally are competitive. I knew a very successful entrepreneur, and he said he only hires salespeople from a competitive sports background. Now, before we get on to the final part of the video where I will explain the results I got, please do like the video if you've enjoyed it and subscribe. I'm going to keep churning out amazing content for you, and that is all I ask in return. So then on to the final point, what has been the result? So this is the first month that we have implemented this new closer framework, and we are up by 59.7%. So call it 60% increase in sales, and new customers as well is up by 83.3%. So it's been a phenomenal turnaround. I would highly recommend that you implement these strategies into your business. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.